stories that led to events or characters in that book. I'm thinking specifically of the armadillo and the chapter called The Finger, but you're certainly not limited to those.
I'm a very slow processor with those things that have affected me personally or emotionally. I don't write about things right away. If Owen Meany, it's fair to say, is my Vietnam novel. It was written 20 years after the war. When I wrote The Cider House Rules, I purposely set it in time back in the 1930s and 40s to move the story as far away from present day political climate surrounding the abortion subject as I could, to sort of see it from a distance. And I wrote my most autobiographical novel about my childhood and my adolescence only recently, when I was already in my late 50s and early 60s. I work better by waiting. Owen Meany came about this way. I was back in my hometown, and some people I've gone to school with, grown up with, were also back for Christmas. And I connected with 2 or 3 friends that, in some cases, I hadn't seen since they were 8 or 9 or 10 years old. And now we were in our late 20s, 30s, children of our own. And for some reason, the morbid subject came up of that list of our friends who had died in Vietnam or thoroughly altered the course of their lives by what they did to themselves not to go. Left their country, cut off their trigger fingers, you name it. It was a fairly substantial list. That's my generation. And someone brought up the name of someone that meant nothing to me. I thought they were mistaken. I thought, oh, I never knew that kid. And they said, oh yeah, he moved away with his family when he was still only 10 or 12. But you remember him. You remember him. I said, the name didn't mean anything to me. And they said, well, in Sunday school, you used to pick him up by his ankles and shake him until all the money fell out of his pants. And then I remembered this very little boy who was smaller than all of us. And we loved him, but we liked to infuriate him.
Because he had a voice like that.
And we loved to hear him get mad. He was so small that whenever you were around him, you just had to pick him up, which he hated. And so he came back to me, but he came back to me as an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. And I said one of the stupidest things I've ever said in my life. I said to